some tofu scramble. One of the people on my Facebook page said that she doesn't know what to do with tofu. And so I thought a scramble would be a really easy way to start. It's a great thing to eat by itself. You can have it with pancakes, waffles. You can put it in a burrito and have a breakfast burrito. You can put it on a sandwich with some veganese and some extra spinach or lettuce, and it's just delicious. So one of the things you have to talk about with tofu is what kind of tofu to get to start with. There are two primary kinds. There's a regular block like we have here, and then there's silken tofu, which is really, really smooth. It's great for desserts, not so good for things like a scramble or anything where you want the tofu to kind of keep a shape. So right here I have a block of firm tofu. I usually use extra firm tofu, but the grocery store had firm, so that's what we have today. I let it drain and in the sink for about 10 minutes to try to get more moisture out. You can even press it between two plates and some paper towels to get more moisture out, but we're just gonna start with, I let it drain in the sink for 10 minutes. And I'm just gonna mash it up to a good texture with my fork, to a texture that I think is good. You can decide how creamy or thick you want it. If you want it super creamy, then just keep mashing. I like mine a little more chunky, but that's my own personal preference. I've seen recipes where they cut it into little squares. Again, total personal preference for that. So I'm just making sure I don't have any extra huge chunks still. If I do, I can always smush them out in this pan on the stove while it's cooking. So that's about right, that looks good. And then I'm gonna add some spices. So I'm gonna use some Bragg's liquid aminos. For my saltiness, I'm only using a teaspoon because I don't need a lot. Again, it's better, it's adding more nutrients to your diet and a little bit better for you than just regular salt. If you're gonna use regular salt, I'd use about a half a teaspoon of sea salt. Here I have 1/8 of a teaspoon of turmeric. I have a half a teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper, and that's all that I have in my little bowl here, and I'm just gonna add that on top. Turmeric is to help make it yellow, like eggs. The thing about turmeric is it's not gonna look yellow in your bowl. You're gonna think, oh, that's not enough yellow, maybe I should add more turmeric. The problem is, if you add too much turmeric, suddenly your dish looks like it came out of the 80s. It looks like neon yellow, and nobody wants to eat that. Now I'm gonna add 1/4 of a cup nutritional yeast, which is very high in B vitamins. When you are eating vegan or eating more vegan, you're not getting a lot of B vitamins in your diet because they traditionally come from animal sources of protein. So you wanna make sure you're cooking with things like nutritional yeast, drinking fortified soy milk or almond milk, these kinds of things, and getting those B vitamins that your body needs. I also take a daily supplement, a multivitamin specific for vegans, just to make it easier. And that way I don't have to worry about how much I'm getting, because I know I'm already getting it in my multivitamin. So I'm just gonna mix this up real good. Meanwhile, I am going to start cooking up the veggies. Oops, pardon me. One of the things that is really wonderful about a tofu scramble is adding the veggies. I've seen a lot of recipes that don't add veggies, or not a lot of veggies, and they end up having 15 or 20 different spices to make the tofu taste more delicious. And some of those recipes are very good, but I try to keep things very simple. If you've read my about on my blog, you'll see that the whole point of my cooking is to keep it very simple, using ingredients I can find at my grocery stores and using tools that I can easily keep in my kitchen without a big expense. So again, a fork and a spoon are definitely things that are easy to find and use. So here I have my pan. I have about 1/4 of a cup of green onion, because that's what I had in my fridge, and I have a tablespoon of water. I know a lot of people are trying to cut some of the oils out of their diets to keep the fat levels down, and so we're gonna cook with water today. And the only difference is that you just have to watch it a little more closely because you don't want it to burn. That water is gonna cook off pretty quickly. And so what we'll do is we'll just cook it for a few moments, And then we'll soon add some more vegetables, which also have moisture in them, and that will keep it from burning. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on at about a medium heat. And it's gonna start cooking. I just put this in with the water. If you look, you can see all the steam coming off. Hopefully, I don't know the quality of my little flip cam, but the steam is coming off and the onions are cooking. I'm literally just trying to soften them a little bit. And then I'm gonna add a half a cup of bell pepper. You can use any color you want. I try to incorporate as many different colors of fruits and vegetables into my diet as possible, just to get the different vitamins that the different colors provide. And I'm also adding about 3/4 of a cup of sliced mushroom. You want to put those in early so that the flavors incorporate really nicely. If you put them in later, because you like, as I do like my mushrooms less cooked, the flavors don't incorporate as well. And so if you put them in now, mushrooms also have a lot of moisture in them, and so that'll really help keep this from burning, because remember, we're not using any oil that has a higher viscosity than water and then prevents the burning. So we'll cook this for a few moments. Notice you'll see I'm stirring a lot. Again, that's me making sure I'm not getting anxious about the burning that might happen from not using any oil. And you can also see, again, my tofu doesn't look very yellow, but as it cooks, that turmeric, that color from the turmeric will really come out, and they will be more yellow by the time we're done. So I've only been stirring for a few moments, but you can already see that the mushrooms are starting to turn color from the cooking, and you can see that the peppers are starting to soften a little bit. So again, you just need a few moments for that. And then we will add the tofu. Because I let it drain out a little bit, it shouldn't have as much moisture in it, but you'll want to cook this 2 ways you can tell that you're done. One is that the moisture is gone. It's at a moisture level that you appreciate, so it's not super runny or watery. And the other thing is that it should start browning a little bit on the edges, which is very tasty. Gives it a little different texture and that browning flavor. But again, since we're not using any oil, we're not changing the makeup of that oil and potentially causing harm in that process. So I've been letting this cook on the stove for about 5 minutes, and you can see that most of the moisture is gone, and it's taken on a chunky texture, like I was talking about with not smushing it too much in the bowl with the fork. And so all we have left now for this, because I love vegetables, I have a half a cup of chopped seeded tomatoes, because remember, I'm trying to keep moisture out, so I took the seeds out to reduce the moisture. So I'm going to add that, and I'm essentially just trying to heat them up at this point. And I have a cup of fresh baby spinach, and it's been packed, so it looks like more than a cup, but it really is just a cup of packed spinach. And I'm just going to add that on top. You always add the spinach last because you just want it to wilt. You don't actually want to cook it. If you cook it, I mean, you can cook it, but then you have just, you know, mushy spinach. If you let it wilt, it keeps some of its crunchy texture a little bit. So I'm literally just putting that in long enough to let it wilt. I'm stirring it up. The eggs are still cooking. Everything's heating. That tomato. And I'm just trying to get the spinach the right wiltness that I enjoy. It's up to you as the chef. You can decide if you really like the cooked spinach, put it in 30 seconds earlier and go with that. If you don't like the cooked spinach, you can even get a pan with a lid and just set it on top, turn the heat off, and literally let it wilt with the steam and then stir it in. So it's literally done now. And this is what it looks like all done. And I even have one on a plate to see. So there you go, you have tofu scramble. Again, you can put it in sandwiches, you can put it in a burrito, you can eat it plain, you can have it on the side, not plain, but just like this, because it's got great nutrients right now. You can have it with something on the side like some potatoes or pancakes, or get real exotic and make some waffles, which we'll do later. So thank you.